Good evening, race fans, and welcome to a very special event that we have here for you tonight. The BMW Car Club of America is kicking off their prelim here with the WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. Hi, I am Taylor Burris, and with me in the booth today is Ricky Springer, and also joining us from the PCA, Mike Knighton. Gentlemen, we are here at a very, very famous track in all of American motorsports, WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. The beautiful circuit here, and probably a great way to showcase a very special car, iRacing's newest car, the BMW M4 GT4. Ricky, we're looking forward to calling this special series here coming up, and have a great way to kick things off here at WeatherTech Raceway.
Oh, for sure, and we're going to take a look here at the WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca here in California. 11 turns in 2.2 miles is going to be the length of the speedway, and of course, one of the most iconic corners in road course racing is going to be the corkscrew on the back half of the course. We're going to see a lot of action through there, even with the smaller field that we have here tonight. So I'm looking forward to seeing these BMW Car Club of America drivers get side by side and to see some really good sports car racing here in the BMW M4 GT4 cars.
Indeed we are, and you know, with this we are going to actually take you on a lap here at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. We are currently riding on board with, looks like to be the number, can't catch the number on that, but it looks like Kurt Poulter, who's coming up here on the circuit. He's actually going down the Rahal Straight as we are about to descend into the corkscrew, dropping it down a second gear to make sure to hold a tight, steady line through here as we're now setting up for the rainy curve, another high-speed corner that you have to breathe the throttle just a little bit as you work your way out of a rainy curve. You're then going to come up to what is going to be next, turn 10 and turn 11, which turn 11 is going to be the slowest corner here at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. So you have to dive it down, dropping it down to second gear as you come down the front straightaway to start this lap here. And it's going to be a very interesting race, especially when you're heading down to one of the most famous corners here, the Mario Andretti hairpin, as Kurt Poulter is now hitting the braking marker zone right about here, around the third marker to second gear to this double apex, Mike. And you're more familiar with driving in the Porsches here at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca, but still a very difficult track to run no matter what kind of car you drive.
You know, that's absolutely correct, Taylor. And this goes back about 45 years. My first experience at Laguna Seca was in the prior configuration, and it was actually in a BMW 320. So what I'm watching Mr. Poulter do right now is very familiar, and it really is exciting and brings back a whole lot of wonderful memories for me.
Yeah, a lot of great memories for all of us here at this famous race course. But with that, we're going to, as he is finishing up and bringing you back down the Rahal Straight before he takes you back down the, once again, famous corkscrew, we have some very special guests that we wanted to bring up into the booth. Mr. Sean McKenzie is going to be joining us, and with us here, as he is the director and chairman of the BMW Car Club of America. And also, we are also bringing up Michael Krasinecki, who is also the director of marketing and sponsors relationship. So as we bring them on up into the booth, as we're waiting to hear, here comes Mr. McKenzie and Mike. Gentlemen, welcome up to the booth. How are y'all doing tonight?
Hey, Taylor, we're doing great. How you doing?
Doing pretty good. Getting ready to call some great sports car racing action here at WeatherTech with these beautiful BMWs.
Sounds like a great night, man. We're into it.
Of course, we're all looking forward to this, but we got a couple of questions, especially for any of our new viewers who are tuning in here to see these BMWs. You know, what is the BMW Car Club of America Club Racing all about?
Hey, Tyler, we've been doing this for 25 years. In fact, this is our 25th anniversary, and we thought this was a great way to pivot to the future here and lighten up this iRacing series. So we're really excited about this. But the actual real racing, we have 30 events across North America, and we have about 350 to 400 racers that race with us on almost every weekend during the summer season and fall season. So we're excited to see this opportunity and kind of reflect what we do on the track, but make it out here in the virtual world. It's very cool.
Yes, it is a very cool opportunity indeed. Now, Mike, our director of marketing as well as sponsor relations, we have a question for you. What was the reason to decide to go sim racing? Of course, as Sean brought out, it is the future, but what other reasons was it?
Yeah. Thank you, Taylor. I think there's a few here, right? So I think, firstly, I think this is a fantastic opportunity, a fantastic channel for our sponsors to have another avenue for exposure, right? And I think that's important because there's likely a portion of the audience here that we likely would not have reached otherwise, right? And they're a big piece of allowing us to get out and race. So I think that's the first one. I think a couple of the others is this is a great opportunity for DE drivers as well, right? So these could be younger drivers that are not either ready to invest in a full race car yet, or are just on the brink of going into our race school, but they want to get a taste of, hey, what is it like going 3 wide into a corner, right? Or what is it like, what's that experience of getting those sweaty palms at a race start, right? So I think that's another one. And the third one, I think, is for existing drivers, right? So as Sean mentioned, we've got races all over the U.S. We've got it in Canada as well, right? It's challenging this year. But what iRacing is doing is providing a very realistic experience for those racers who want to learn a track or maybe tweak their lines before hauling their race car, 5-10 hours over to a track, right? So definitely a lot of benefits here. And like you mentioned, I think it is the future as well.
Could not agree with you more as we look forward to what's to come for the BMW Car Club of America Sim Racing Division. And with that, Sean, we're going to come back to you. A lot of people are going to be showing interest in this. So how can people sign up and be a part of not just the sim racing, but also club racing for the BMW Car Club of America?
Yeah, I understand that, Tyler. Listen, BMW CCA has about 68,000 members across North America. And any member who's in good standing can join us and participate in this iRacing series. And so it's a big reach out. We see it as a nice added benefit to membership in the BMW Car Club of America. Now, if you want to go ahead and take that next step and go from virtual to a real car, well, we have all kinds of opportunities there for you to do that. And my big suggestion would be to go to BMW CCA clubracing.com. At that website, you'll find all the information you need and the expertise you need and the guidance to get you into real racing. So it's a fantastic opportunity. We're looking for more racers, both virtually and in reality.
Well, gentlemen, we really do appreciate you taking the time before we get ready to go racing here to answer these questions. And before we let you go, do you have any final thoughts, whether it be for the drivers, the audience listening in, or just anything to mention?
I'd say good luck to the drivers, and let's put on a show, huh?
Yeah. Godspeed. Let's go racing.
Could not agree with you more. Let's go racing here as we are still under qualifying session right now for these current drivers. Currently up on top of the leaderboard for qualifying is Kurt Poulter in the number 44 BMW M4 GT4 with a 1 minute 30.365. He has about a 2-second lead over the 808 car of Peter Neely. And then rounding out your top 3 is Amanda Tully. So a small field tonight, but you know what? Small fields can also bring in a lot of action here, Ricky.
Oh, and it definitely can. And, you have to think that the 2-second gap there between the top two is due to, in part, that sim racing is an extension of real-life talent and what you have to offer when you get into a real-life car. But also, it's a completely different animal. These guys come out here from running their own cars on tracks like this at Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca to even tracks like Road Atlanta. I mean, so many different tracks that you run a real car at. But once you get on something like iRacing, it's completely different. So you kind of see with lap times guys that have kind of tested their hand at sim racing before, whether it be iRacing or another service, to at least get their feet wet in it. And then some of these guys who have just been mostly on the real life scene of the CCA and been dealing with that and just thought it'd be a neat kind of introduction to the sim racing world to join these guys in the BMW Car Club of America.
As we are closing in with about a few minutes left on the clock, we'll talk to Mike Knight in a little bit and to discuss about how the importance of information is regarding, the competing here on the track compared to real world. Mike, what are your thoughts?
It's really interesting. I heard, I don't know whether it was Mike or Sean, talk about the sweaty gloves and the sweaty palms. And having spent many years behind the wheel of a real race car, I can tell you, I sit on the grid in our PCA events, and my palms sweat. I want to do well. And the noise and the sounds, all I'm really missing is the smell of a little bit of burning oil and some gasoline. It's a wonderful experience, and I'd encourage anybody, BMW CCA, please consider joining. It is really a fun and immersive event. Can't speak more highly of the quality of the racing that goes on as well.
Of course, and we have a very special guest as well to welcome all of the fans here for this prelim round of the BMW Car Club of America, none other than Matthew Kogan. Matthew, what do you have to say to all the fans watching here tonight?
Hey guys, hope everybody has a good time. We put on a good show. I'm actually out here. I'm coming through turn 3 right now, so hopefully I don't get too distracted with talking to you guys at the moment.
All right, well, you know what? Let's go a little bit on board with you right here as we're trying to watch you, Matt, as you're taking a lap here, getting ready for the final race. What are you looking forward to most when it comes to this?
Well, I am overall for the whole series, I am hoping that we can build this into something that will have a good participation from all our chapter members and be out and about and, substitute all the real racing that is not happening right now, although a lot is starting to come back. But ultimately, we want to be able to bring something to our membership that they can participate in long term.
Yes, indeed. As you have a very interesting way we're going to be doing this. We have 2 heat style races of 20 minutes to get these drivers. So we'll have at least 2 winners here once the night is over. So a lot to look forward to tonight as we get ready to drop the green flag here in a few minutes time.
Yeah, and we're looking at doing that because that kind of mimics what we do in real world for our real racing series is. A lot of times our races are just short sprint races, so we're trying to mimic what the club is doing in real life.
All righty. So with that, anything else you would like to say to the fans here tonight, or to even our drivers who you're going to be competing with tonight?
I just hope everybody has a great time and we put on a good show for those people that are out there watching, and look forward to our real series starting in September. Information should all be coming out in the middle of August about how to get signed up and how to get registered, and hopefully we get some nice big full fields come September.
Most definitely indeed. We look forward to that come September. That is none other than Matt Kogan, the BMW Car Club of America iRacing Director, as he is finishing up his qualifying run here tonight at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. We're going to bring it back in Ricky here. And Ricky, a lot has changed. We still have a small field, but you know what? It's going to be a great time when these drivers take to the season here in September. A lot of different tracks to look at, a lot of different opportunities for people to come in and have a great chance to win races at very historic tracks. A lot of them are talking is VIR, Canadian Tire, and many more famous American motorsports tracks.
Exactly, and that's what the series is meant to bring out here is these guys who do this for the BMW Car Club of America in the real life world. They get to come out here and have some fun, maybe even with some of the guys that they have competed with in real life track events. So it's very interesting to see these virtual tracks kind of come to life with these BMW M4s out here tonight. And a place like Laguna Seca, what a better place to start for an exhibition race when you think of the pinnacle, I guess, of American motorsports. I don't think there's one road course guy that could overlook Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca. It's such an amazing track when you go from people running motorcycles here to even the big IMSA races that they run here every year. It's such a historic track with a lot of history from the many different layouts that they've had over the years to the current one that we see on iRacing tonight. And it's just it changes the world of motorsports anytime you get the kind of history behind a track like this and then have a series like this come to it. So I'm very excited to see what other tracks are on the schedule for these cars the rest of the year when we do get into the season. But like I said, just what a great place to start.
Agree with you 100% on that, Ricky. As we're finishing up qualifying here, the clock is continually winding down, not much left on the clock, so we're going to be looking forward to seeing who will come out on top of the leaderboard for pole position. And then we kick off our first of 2 races here tonight. 20 minutes for both of the formats as well. They'll have a small warm-up in between to get everything ready to go. But still, it's going to be Kurt Poulter at the top of the leaderboard right now, Peter Neely in second, and Amanda Tully rounding out your top 3. So even some of these drivers have a little bit of real-world experience. Amanda Tully is actually a competitor in the 24 Hours of Lemon, so she has very great experience when it comes to sports car racing, as well as competing in very high-pressure endurance races.
Yeah, and the 24 Hour of Lemon is such an interesting thing. When you talk about a fun type of motorsports, that's really what that is. It's interesting. It's something that if you are new to motorsports, you would never think existed until you actually have to see it. And it's really neat to see drivers from all sorts of backgrounds out here tonight, from people that have just competed in CCA events to people who have traveled outside of the CCA and done their own thing. I know that Amanda has been a member of iRacing for about a year now and has actually done some iRacing events before being a part of the BMW CCA stuff here on Podium Esports. So, you know, like I said before, just the experience of being on iRacing before getting into this series is really going to show, especially as we get towards the middle part of the season. You can kind of hone those skills in that you already kind of set in your head early on.
Yeah, I mean, there's several other drivers who have extreme talent when it comes to sim racing. Kurt Poulter, one of them, he's been sim racing for about 4 years now, so he's probably considered one of the veterans here at the BMW Car Club of America Sim Racing Series. And then, of course, we have some drivers who started only maybe a couple of weeks ago before the season kicked off. So a lot of different opportunities for drivers to learn and drivers to show their talents here tonight.
Exactly, and you know, being at these tracks on iRacing as well, you have to think that it might help these guys when the CCA gets back going. Of course, the current climate of our world right now with the global pandemic going on, that, you know, CCA kind of having to take a little short break, and a lot of motorsports just now starting to get back into the flow of things. So it's keeping these guys on their toes as well, or these guys and girls, keeping them on their toes, getting ready for their next track event that they could see in real life.
Yeah, a lot to look forward to when they're able to do that. But for right now, we have the virtual world to help keep them busy, as we are now 1 minute left in qualifying here at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. So keeping an eye on the clock to see who else can come out on top. But currently, 7 cars have taken time, and Michael Tan is still waiting to get out on the track to complete his laps here. But with how everything is looking, I don't think he'll have enough time to complete a lap here at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. So as they come around to complete their final laps, we are getting ready to give you the full field rundown of tonight's first round of heat race number 1 of the race here of the BMW Car Club of America.
Yeah, and, you know, we look at the board right now, like you said, there's still some guys finishing laps, so we'll wait on that just to see if somebody else can post a quicker time here. But I'm not quite sure. I know most sessions will allow an extra minute or 2 after the conclusion of the qualifying timer. So you might see the guys that are crossing the line right now, like Matthew Kogan, get to do another lap here. So we'll have to see how the timer kind of plays out on that one to see if these guys could possibly get another lap in and try and best the time that they have up on the board.
He's going to try everything that he can. He's now coming out of the Andretti hairpin, that double apex corner, and looks like, nope, it did not. So we are now going to go racing here for 20 minutes at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. So we'll go ahead and give you a rundown here. Currently on the front row, it is going to be the 44 of Kurt Poulter setting the fastest time here tonight. Next up in second place will be Peter Neely. Starting in third position will be Amanda Tully. And rounding out your top 4 will be Gary Bowen.
And bringing in the 5th position and the final spot in the top 5 is going to be Matthew Kogan, who we spoke with earlier. In the 6th position, it's going to be Jim Anderson. In the 7th position, it's going to be Darby Moses. And in the 8th position, the only driver not to throw a time down in qualifying is going to be Michael Tan. He had a decent lap of a 1 minute 39.4 in practice, but like I said, unfortunately, did not get a qualifying time in.
As the field is getting ready to grid and finalize everything. Currently 4 cars on the grid. We're still waiting for a couple of more people. Get ready, things rolling here at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca, as the BMWs are now going to be led by the Porsche safety car here around this 2.2 mile circuit.
Yeah, and that's kind of funny, being led by the iRacing Porsche pace car with the BMWs here tonight, but I highly doubt that'll put a dent in them as these guys get ready to take the track tonight and rumble for the first of double 20s here at Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca. And, you know, these races, I like the short sprint races. I've always been a fan of endurance racing, and in my own personal life, I've always loved racing on road courses. So when I see short sprint races, it kind of takes away the fact of having to save tires and having to play strategy, but it also shows the raw speed and the raw talent of these drivers. Of course, this series being on a fixed setup here, so everybody on an equal playing field with the way that these cars handle. And I'm really excited to see the talent level that we have here tonight. Of course, a little bit of a gap there between first and second, but the field relatively close when you talk about road course times. And what I mean by that is, of course, an oval, a tenth is so much, but on a road course, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Taylor, but, you know, a little bit of time, maybe even a half a second, really isn't that much if you think that a driver could mess up one corner and lose all that time. Yeah,
I mean, and like you said, oval racing, a tenth could mean everything, but here, you know, a tenth may not be serious. A second, on the other hand, is a major gap that a driver has to build. You know, we always consider when sports car racing happens, you know, a second is a very close gap indeed, but here, you know, that it's going to be so critical for these drivers to show that needed pace before we kick things off. So we actually had a little bit of fun times the other week at Charlotte Motor Speedway on the Roval course with these BMWs. So we really got to see the talent level that these drivers produce here at WeatherTech Raceway.
Absolutely, and, you know, a great group of guys to run with, might I just say. I mean, I was able to race around these guys, and so were you, Taylor, and just really good, clean racing, hard racing. You got to race with the guys side by side and, you know, really get to see what these guys are made of. And, I mean, from the talent level that we saw in Charlotte last week when we got to meet with these guys and really go over what we were going to be working on with the BMW Car Club of America, I mean, it showed what this series was going to be like and how it was really going to play out. So, I mean, even through the 2-second gap that we have right now between first and second in qualifying, I still see close racing in the future, because you have to understand that 20 minutes is a little under 15 laps at Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca. So, you know, one corner you could blow and lose almost 5 seconds. So we're just going to have to see who's the most consistent driver out here tonight.
His consistency will be critical for these drivers for the next 20 minutes or 13 laps here, as the pace car is about to make its way down pit road, and we're about to turn 6 drivers loose here at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. The leaders are coming to turn 11 to get things underway, as the green flag will be out here in 1, 2, 3. The green flag is out, and we are underway here for race number 1 at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. Kurt Poulter is going to be side by side with the second place car of Peter Neely as they make their way up to turn 1 and now try to get to the braking zone of the Andretti hairpin.
Yeah, and I'm very surprised to not see these drivers using that outside runoff there. I saw that a lot in qualifying and practice, but everybody looking to stay on the course here is Kurt Poulter now going to pull away a couple of car lengths now from that second place car, the number 808 of Peter. And, you know, we're going to see the gaps start to form here, but everybody is going to bunch up when we get to the back half of the course and through that corkscrew.
Yeah, it will be critical, and that will show the compression and the skill level of these drivers when they get up to the corkscrew, as they're now working their way up towards the Rahal Straight here, as we are still going to be nose to tail pretty much for third place between Amanda Tully and Matthew Kogan as they're coming up to Rahal.
Yeah, and Amanda Tully just trying to stay out front there of the aggressive drivers behind her, trying to get by. As you could see, that 7 car of Gray just trying to get up to the rear bumper of that bright pink 88 as now they go down through the corkscrew here. You're going to see right off of the back of Amanda's car right now how that 7 car just gets right up to the bumper, and then it kind of almost like a slinky goes right back out and pulls the gap as they come out of there. It's a hard braking zone, but really if you run it right, you can get a huge run out of there and gain some time on the car in front and pull the guy behind you.
Meanwhile, back up to the front of the racetrack, it is going to be Kurt Poulter leading lap number 1 here at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. Still second is going to be Peter Neely, who is chasing him down here. Currently, the gap is about 1.1 seconds as they come across the line, and it's still going to be the battle for third between Kogan and Amanda Tully as they enter the Andretti hairpin.
Yeah, and going down into the Andretti hairpin, not something that we talked about, is really the danger zones of this course. One of the biggest, shunt spots I guess we'll see throughout races here at Laguna Seca is coming over the top of the hill into the Andretti hairpin. It's really easy to lock up the brakes there when the car is getting light because, of course, in these GT4 cars, they take a little bit longer to slow down than what you would say a prototype or a GT3 car to get woed down to make that hairpin there. So these guys are coming up over the crest of that hill and having to ride up on the brakes. So we might see a lockup, maybe even a couple lockups throughout the entirety of this 20-minute race.
Yeah, a lot can happen for these drivers, and it's going to be critical for them to make sure that they hit their marks as they're coming up through these key corners to gain time on their competition or try to make a pass. As we now watch that battle for third, they're coming up over the crest of the corkscrew and now making their way downhill. Still Tully leading that group of 3 cars right now as they come through the rainy curve.
Yeah, and one thing that I'm noticing between Tully and Kogan is that they're running 2 completely different lines going through the corkscrew. Kogan is kind of arcing it out a little bit more and then almost trying to run it straight off through the apex of the corner, and I'm not sure if that's quite quicker than Tully, but through the last corner there, it seems she might have had a little bit of a mistake on entry, and that's going to give Matthew Kogan a huge run down the front straightaway, and he's going to be as close as he's ever been since the beginning of this race. And we're back as it seems like this battle was starting to heating up a little bit more as Miss Tully is trying to fend off Kogan up there in that 142 car. He got close going down into the hairpin there, turn 1, and then just wasn't quite able to make the move happen as you saw him use the runoff there on the exit of the corner, which I spoke about earlier as a couple of drivers had been using that runoff there to kind of continue, the momentum through that corner. Is now you see Kogan falling back. But we'll take a look up at the front of the field, and still leading is Kurt Poulter in that 44 car with a commanding lead now, as he's almost pulled 3 seconds and is absolutely motoring away from the field. So consistency, not an issue for that 44 car, as that beautiful white paint scheme working his way through the last 2 corners here at Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca. We'll look back in the second spot, and it's going to be Peter Neely, and he's going to be in that Guinness-sponsored BMW in the 808 as he works his way down the front straightaway and past the start-finish line to come to the completion of lap 4. But yet again, this race is not done on lap times. It's done on time, so we're about a little under halfway here, 5 minutes under halfway, so a third of the way through the race here, and 50 minutes exactly left here in this first of twin 20-minute laps here, or 20-minute races, I apologize. And Taylor, the twin races, that has to present a different issue for these drivers, not being able to just go out and, destroy the field and then come in through a pit stop and do it all again.
Yeah, they have to do it all again, so they have to be careful with what they do here on the track because it can affect how the outcome is for race number 2 for them. So even though they might get a fresh new car, it still means that they have to still go back out there and try to get as many points that they can in order to try to round out this prelim exhibition race. I mean, it's going to be critical. They've been running these exhibition races for the past couple of weeks right now, so I'm pretty sure they want to make sure they take every chance to learn the track to be ready for when we do the real thing here in a few weeks' time.
Exactly, and Kurt Poulter, obviously no stranger to this, is he seems like he has the iRacing stuff down as we're looking at that battle again between Amanda Tully, and it seems like Mr. Kogan has gotten passed for the 4th spot, and now Bray in that number 7 car, in that blue number 7 car, is starting to catch up to Miss Tully there, and he might be the next one trying to pressure her for that 3rd position, Taylor.
Yeah, I'm trying to see what happened to Matt. Oh, he went off course through Rainy Curve on the last lap. So that was the reason of how he got passed by Mr. Gary Bowen as they come out of turn number 11. So he's got a little bit of ground to make up here as they come out of turn 11 and now come down the front straightaway to complete lap number 4. But now Gary has caught to the back bumper of Amanda Tully as they head to the Andretti hairpin. They'll set it up, trying to hit both apex as Gary goes a little bit wide, but makes it up for the 2nd apex as they come out of there and head over to turn number 3.
Yeah, and they're working their way into turn 3, but one thing that I said a little bit earlier with the corkscrew in Matthew Kogan and Amanda Tully working through there using 2 different lines is that Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca is one of those tracks where you can really run a different line through most every corner and still stay the same. I mean, of course, there's an optimum line to run, but it seems like some of these drivers find the line that fits their driving style. And I think that's why, especially on the simulator of iRacing, that Mazda Raceway is so popular is because you can really run it to your driving style, whether you're one of the drivers that likes to late apex a corner or drive it in hard and get on the brakes and just try and hug the bottom. It really suits a driver differently depending on how you decide to run it. So it's interesting to see these BMW Car Club of America drivers use different lines throughout all of these corners to just kind of track them on how they're going to run this course.
Yeah, it's very critical and very interesting of how it can help any driver, no matter what skill level you have. Whether you're an absolute beginner or you are a pro world-class driver, the iRacing service can help you learn tracks and actually improve lap times, both not only in the real world, but here, of course, on the virtual world, as these drivers are showcasing their talents here tonight at this historic track. As they come across the line, they have completed lap number 5 here, as still the race leader is Kurt Poulter. We're going to check in on him right now in that number 44 BMW. He is currently sitting about 6.3 and growing, currently over Peter Neely in the number 808 car, as Amanda Tully and Gary Bowen are still doing battle for the final step of the podium here for race number 1.
Yeah, and she's still trying to run from that chasing 7 car behind her. It seems like she's pulled a couple of tenths there in the past 2 laps and is now working through the back half of the course and up that hill right there under the bridge. And, you know, we're going to see a lot of Amanda. We saw her, of course, last week when me and you, Taylor, had gone out there for just a fun race and raced along with them. And she showed a lot of potential at the Charlotte Road course and really went out there and raced extremely well with everybody. So her being on the 3rd step of the podium is not all that surprising to me. It's more surprising that she's not maybe battling up there near where Kurt Poulter is. But Kurt Poulter currently in his own zip code up at the front of the field as he has just gone down through the hairpin of turn 1 and already working his way to turn 2 and turn 3 here.
Yeah, but you know what? It could have been also due to the fact of a certain track. Maybe one driver favors another compared to this. As Kurt, though, he has the experience with the 4 years experience on sim racing, so he might have had a little bit of extra time here to get used to it. And Amanda, I think she's only been on the service for maybe about a year or less as we're looking at her results, so it could have been that reason why. So experience is critical no matter what your level is in racing, so you have to have that experience in order to be as successful as you see currently Kurt Poulter is showing here tonight.
Exactly, and you know, when you hop into a car, everybody thinks it's just like driving on the freeway. You know, you get in the car, you drive, and that's all you do. Well, racing is just such a different animal. I mean, anybody can go out on a course like this and drive it 30, 40, maybe even 50 miles an hour, but the drivers who can truly go out here and get everything out of an automobile, whether it be the Porsche GT4 M4 out here tonight on iRacing with the Porsche Club of America, or what these drivers use in their actual track days with the Porsche Club of America, they are the kings of the BMW cars of getting around the track and using everything that they possibly can.
Yeah, this is not Porsche. This is BMW. They're still German
apologize.
German manufacturers, but we have to make sure we get the right emblem here tonight, Ricky. So the BMW Car Club of America is currently still underway here. The leader has just completed lap number 7, so we are closing in on just about the halfway mark here at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. So he is coming up through turn number 4 and still has pulled a gap about 8.8 seconds over Peter Neely in that 808 car. So let's look in on that number 808 car of Peter Neely, currently running right now in second place, running very consistent lap times. He's about a second off as far as lap time compared to Kurt Poulter. So it just shows the incredible skills of a second a lap difference can show, especially when it comes to road course racing, Ricky.
Exactly, and we were saying earlier, but one off track could equal that 8 seconds there, so it's really going to be who's the most consistent. And right now, unfortunately for Peter in that 808 car, Kurt Poulter is looking so consistent. He hasn't had any off tracks going around this speedway that really were anything to worry about. He's been very consistent, but driving the car very hard, but conservatively, if that makes sense. He's been driving it to the point where he knows he is under control of that BMW. And as he comes to wrap up lap 8 there and start on lap 9, as we have just under 8 minutes to go.
8 minutes to go for Kurt Poulter to try and bring home the checkered flag here at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. Peter Neely's going to try to see if he can find that extra second here to close the gap. It's going to be a little bit of a tall order, though, with how much time is left on the clock. He's going to need a little help, whether it be if Kurt Poulter makes a mistake or Kurt Poulter runs into lap traffic before this race is over with, which could be a small possibility, as looking at timing and scoring, Jim Anderson is over a minute behind the race leader. So something could possibly happen for him, as we are currently on board with Jim Anderson as he's coming down the corkscrew.
Yeah, works his way through the corkscrew, and what a great camera to show the elevation change there. Something that iRacing really does justice is working through the elevation changes of certain courses. I know Road Atlanta is a track that I've personally been to quite a few times, and just the elevation change, you can really get a hint of it, of how it works in the simulator and how difficult it is to do that from a design standpoint and really show.
Yeah, I mean, it's phenomenal work that the iRacing service has done. I mean, every single bump, every single elevation change, iRacing gets it right on the tee for these drivers, as Jim Anderson now heads through the Andretti hairpin, as he will be completing his lap here, as he is still running in the 6th position, but he's still got another race, so anything can happen. He maybe even learning a little bit, as we now watch Amanda Tully come up the Rahal Straight, currently still holding off the number 7 of Gary Bowen.
Yeah, but it's obvious that he's closing in now. He's trying to close that gap there a little under a second now. As he's trying to close it in, it kind of goes in, then goes back out, and goes in and goes back out. So we'll have to see if he can really get up to the back bumper of Amanda Tully there, and see if he can battle her for the final step of the podium, as she has been running in the 3rd place all race long, as we're coming down to the final quarter of the race here.
Yes, indeed. 5.5 minutes left on the clock here at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. It is still going to be Kurt Poulter, your race leader, currently over 11 seconds separate him and Peter Neely in 2nd. Amanda Tully and Gary Bowen are still battling it out for 3rd and 4th, while Matthew Kogan and Jim Anderson round out your 6-car field currently at this time, as we are still racing here at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. A lot can still happen, though, in the final minutes.
Absolutely, and we see this a lot in real-life sports car racing and IMSA and the European Endurance Series as well, that the last couple minutes of a race can be the most treacherous for a driver. Just when you think you're getting to the end of the race and you're kind of starting to loosen up, you're giving yourself a little bit more leeway to make mistakes, and just kind of being lazy, I guess you could say, is when most of the mistakes happen. That's why even in oval, the oval scene, you see guys get more aggressive and maybe even a little bit lazy towards the end of a race because they think they have it in the bag. So, there's definitely the opportunity for hard racing and maybe even some accidents, some spin outs here. Of course, Mazda Raceway having a lot of runoff, excluding the corkscrew, as we see Amanda Tully driving through that right now in that bright pink BMW.
I gotta say, I always love our producer Ryan Bauer's camera work, especially when we were looking at the corkscrew. We were talking earlier this week before the show to make sure that we had one of the most iconic looking views when they were coming down the corkscrew, and our producer, Mr. Ryan Bauer, of course, nailed it right on the head when it comes to that shot, as we are still watching this battle for third position between Tully and Bowen as they come across the start-finish line with 3 minutes left, 3 minutes and 50 seconds left to go, as we have a problem with our second place driver, Neely. He is in the tire barriers as he is struggling to get out onto the racetrack again, and he is struggling indeed.
In the right front tire, it looks like the right front suspension there was broken. The tire was not spinning as he was trying to get out of the gravel trap there. But that's exactly what I was talking about. Drivers get a little bit kind of loose on the way they're driving the cars, and that ends up, getting into a big shunt there for that, I believe, number 7 car. Or no, I'm sorry, the 808 car, and that's going to be a huge issue. That's going to put him at the back of the field here, and that's going to move Amanda Tully up to the second step of the podium now.
Yes, and with that, that'll also move Gary Bowen up into third place as well. So, like you said, never count everything out. Anything is possible when it comes to racing. That's why we run the races here in motorsports. So, we are now closing in on the final few minutes, under 3 minutes left to go here, as we are still watching the race leader, Kurt Poulter, pull away from the field, but the battle for second is still raging on between Bowen and Tully as they come out of Rainy Curve and head up to turn 10 and 11.
Yeah, and through 10 and 11 this time, that 7 car keeps trying to close the gap there, but can't quite get close enough. Always loses a little bit through the Andretti hairpin at the front half of the course, or turn 1 as we like to call it, but now down the front straightaway, they're going to hit the line to complete lap 11 here and start lap 12, or I'm sorry, complete lap 10, start lap 11, and we're going to see if that 10 car tries to make those moves, and there it is again, using the outside runoff there and almost missing the first, or not even almost, completely missing the first apex of turn 1, and then catching that second apex and getting a huge run off the corner.
Yes, indeed. As we look currently at following Amanda Tully and Gary Bowen, you notice that little pink dot on the track map. That is our leader, Kurt Poulter. Actually, no, that is actually Amanda Tully in the pink dot. The green dot you see currently across the start-finish line, that's Kurt Poulter. So, as you can see, Kurt Poulter has almost caught up to these two drivers. If we kept going a little bit, I'm pretty sure it wouldn't take much longer for Kurt Poulter to catch up to those two drivers and put them a lap down.
Yeah, and one thing I do want to say is that the 808 car of Peter Neely has just pulled out of pit road. It looks like they got that car bandaged up as he works his way through the inside of turns 1 and back out onto the speedway. So that car is fixed, but he's already a lap down as he's behind Kurt Poulter coming onto the same straight as him. So no way that he will be able to gain any positions unless there's an off track. And Gray right there almost went off the track, or I'm sorry, Gary almost went off the track there. And we're going to have to see if maybe we have another situation where somebody goes off track trying to be aggressive and get a little bit too much out of this car.
He's going to see what he can do as we are now down to about 40 seconds left on the clock as we look on board from behind of Amanda Tully as she is trying to keep the gap between her and Gary Bowen now as they head to the Andretti hairpin, hitting the brake marker zone around that 2 marker zone to try to get as much entry carry speed and make that apex as best as possible. Of course, Gary missed the first apex but hits the second one though as he has been doing these past few laps. 20 seconds left on the clock.
Yeah, and I believe that that's going to say that the leader of Kurt Poulter may take the white flag this time, or it may wait for another lap to go on here. But thankfully for the first and second place cars of Amanda Tully and Gary Bowen is that they're not going to go a lap down, but that battle is almost side by side now as the 7 car pulled right up to the back of Amanda Tully, and they're bumper to bumper as they work up the hill down to the corkscrew.
Climbing the Ray Hall straight as they work their way up to the top of the hill before they head down the corkscrew. Bowen tries every way to try to close the gap but can't make it work. They go down the corkscrew. White flag is out for Kurt Poulter as he is coming to complete his final lap here at WeatherTech Raceway, but the battle still rages on between Tully and Bowen.
Yeah, and even though Kurt Poulter is on the last lap, these two drivers battling for second place still have to come across the line and then begin their last lap here. So we get one more lap of amazing racing for the second spot here. Is Amanda Tully going to work her way out of turn 1 for the second to last time here and come to catch the white flag down the front straightaway?
Yes, but before we continue to watch that battle, here comes Kurt Poulter coming out of turn number 10 and turn number 11 to take home the checkered flag. He is coming down through the braking zone of turn 11. One more time, he'll go through there nice and smooth down the front straightaway as Kurt Poulter in the number 44 will take home the checkered flag for race number 1 here of the BMW Car Club of America Sim Racing Series. But that's not all. We still have a battle for second of watch.
Yeah, and this battle is heating up as they got really close last time coming up to the corkscrew. They spread it out a little bit, but now Amanda trying to pull away again. It seems that 7 car of Gary is better on the back half of the course. You could see him close the gap a little bit there. You know, the back half of the course is definitely his strong suit. Amanda, of course, has the front half of the course all figured out. That's why she pulls it away, but down to almost 3 to 4 car lengths as they work their way up the hill into the corkscrew.
Up the corkscrew for the final time, now back down through it again. Tully holds a great line through there. Will she be able to make it stick as they come out of there? Yes. Now through Rainy Curve. Now you have to be careful through this section. Make sure you don't get off course there as they come out of Rainy Curve. Through turn 10, Tully still has about a 3-car length gap as they come down into turn 10 for the final time. Bowen trying to see if he can close the gap before they get to turn 11. He might have to go late braking to see if he can do it. No, it will not work. Out of turn 11 for the final time. Here they come down. Amanda Tully will take home second place. Gary Bowen will round out your podium finish here at the WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca for race number 1 of the BMW Car Club of America Sim Racing Series.
Yeah, right after them, after that close battle there, Matthew Cogan had caught up to those two drivers battling for the second, third position and was kind of on the prowl there, maybe a couple more minutes of the race, and he could have gotten up to the rear bumper.
He did. If they had another lap or so, we could have had a 3-car battle for second place. But we have to take a few moments to sit down with Kurt Poulter before we get ready for race number 2. As we are waiting for Kurt to come up, we're going to take a few moments, though, to talk a little bit about what's to come for the rest of the Podium Esports Network, as we have a bunch to talk about here coming up. Of course, tomorrow night, Wednesday, July 29th, the Cars Esports Tour will be heading to Charlotte Motor Speedway to the Legends Oval at 9 p.m. You can catch all the action on twitch.tv/Podium Esports. And then on Sunday, August 2nd at 8 p.m., the GameWorks Racing League heads to Atlanta Motor Speedway for their round number 3 of that series. You can catch the action live on twitch.tv/Podium Esports. And with that, we'll see if we can try and get Kurt Poulter up into the booth to chat with him for a few moments. But Ricky, you know, a lot of great action happened in race number 1. Still, though, a lot to talk, though, about. We still have another 20-minute race here at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca, and looking forward to race number 2.
Yeah, and race number 2 should just come with as much action as number 1 did. Unfortunately, Matthew Cogan had that off track there, which put him back quite a few positions, so he would have been a part of that 2-car battle for the second step on the podium. So we'll have to see how those 3 cars will duke it out for the second of 2 20-minute races we have here tonight at the Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca.
Yes, indeed. As we are still looking over everything to make sure we get things ready for everyone to enjoy the viewing pleasure here, we still have a little bit of a mid-race break to talk about. As we talked about, we crossed that halfway point. Tonight's race is brought to you by iRacing, the world's leading online racing simulation. Developed from the beginning as a centralized racing and competition service, iRacing organizes, hosts, and officiates races on the virtual track all around the world. iRacing is home to a wide variety of official sanctioned series, with racing from the Australian Supercars, IndyCar, IMSA, NASCAR, the World of Outlaws, and more. So we are waiting for the starting order for race number 2 here of the BMW Car Club of America at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. Now, Ricky, a little bit of a thing to talk about as we have now Kurt up in the booth. Kurt Poulter, welcome to the booth and congratulations on winning race number 1 here at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Tell us, what was the track conditions like for you out there when competing?
It was, I believe, standard weather, so, normal, nothing crazy, not a whole lot of build-up, anything like that. We're running the baseline setup with across the board for everybody, so it keeps it a little simple for everybody. But yeah, no complaints.
All right, and with this, we're getting ready to go into race number 2. So I'm guessing it's going to be the same thing as race number 1. Try and just keep a consistent line and take home another checkered flag here.
That's the goal.
All right. Well, before we let you go, Kurt, is there anyone you would like to thank? Anybody maybe in your specific car club chapter that you would like to thank, or any other people who help you race from week to week?
The guys at Vandalia Range and Armory and Turn In Concepts, those are guys that help, keep the wheels going, per se. And, definitely got to give them a shout out.
All right. That was Kurt Poulter, your winner for race number 1 here at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca for the BMW Car Club of America Sim Racing Series.
Yeah, and a very interesting first race that took place there. And congratulations to Kurt for taking home the win in the first race there in dominating fashion. Definitely not what I expected out of the first race, at least an exhibition race here with the BMW Car Club of America. So we'll just have to see what the second race of the season brings here.
Well, it was that. We already have a great field of cars ready, lined up, and ready to go here, as we are getting ready to look at the starting grid here momentarily once the warm-up here is set and ready to go.
Yes, sir. And we'll have to see. I'm not quite sure how they determine the lineup. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but it should be going off of the first race. Am I right, Taylor?
That is correct. Currently looking at that. So it's going to be Kurt Poulter starting on the front row with Amanda Tully second, Gary Bowen third, Matthew Kogan fourth, Peter Neely fifth, Jim Anderson will round out your 6-car field for race number 2 here at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca.
Yeah, and that should be a great race down off into turn 1 to see those two drivers side by side. Amanda is not going to give it up quite easily on the outside. You usually don't want to be on the outside going into a hairpin corner, but Laguna Seca is different. You can kind of pinch the guy on the bottom and kind of keep them tucked down there onto the inside curbs, maybe make them hit that red curb there and upset the car a little bit and try and drive around them on the outside.
Yeah, it's going to be critical to see what Amanda can do on the opening lap. So we'll have to see if she's able to see if she can get a good jump as well as getting a good exit off the Andretti hairpin. So I have to keep an eye and see what she can do here when we go back to green flag.
Absolutely. And, like I just keep saying this and I feel bad. I feel like I'm repeating myself, but I just cannot express to you how excited I am for the season to start here with the BMW Car Club of America. Of course, this being an exhibition race to get all the little kinks worked out and everybody set up for the year. As you want to take a quick field rundown here, Taylor, of how the second race is going to start for us.
Of course, we'll go ahead and give you a quick rundown of your starting grid. Kurt Poulter starting in first with Amanda Tully starting second. Gary Bowen's third, and rounding out your top 4 will be Matthew Kogan.
Yeah, and starting in the 5th position, it's going to be Peter Neely, who got off track there, got the right front locked up, and couldn't quite continue there, so he'll be in the 5th spot, was running second. We'll see him try to drive through the field here. In the 6th position, it's going to be Jim Anderson. In the 7th position, it's going to be Darby Mose. I do not believe that he is gridding the car, as well as Michael Tan. So those two drivers are not going to start the second race here tonight. So a 6-car field that we have going out.
6 cars will take it to battle for 20 minutes once again here for race number 2 at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca for race 2 of the BMW Car Club of America. This is their final exhibition race before we kick things off later this year in September. So a lot to look forward to for these drivers as they get ready to take off for multiple exhilarating rounds here for this series as they start off in their early stages of sim racing.
Exactly, and when you talk about a series that it's kind of in its infancy, that is the BMW Car Club of America here this weekend, or tonight, I should say. It's not the weekend yet. Wish it was, but you know, this is a series that is just getting ready to go here on iRacing. Of course, the BMW Car Club of America in the real-life scene is very well known. Everybody kind of knows about the BMW Car Club of America and at least knows what it's about and has heard of it, but this is fairly new to them, moving to the iRacing scene and moving to the simulators and the online virtual racing that we have going on here tonight. So it's going to be very different to see how these are even officiated here. Of course, they have the CCA officials officiating their normal stuff, and some of the guys from the BMW Car Club of America having to officiate the races tonight. So hopefully they learn some stuff from real life and are officiating these things as they would be on the real life tracks of America.
Yes, indeed. The only difference is that they will be driving some very different cars that they might not be used to compared to in the BMW Car Club of America Club Racing, as they'll be mastering the GT4. But we also have on iRacing two other BMW powerful race cars, of course, the BMW M8 GTE and the BMW Z4 GT3. So three different opportunities for us to see different BMWs competing throughout the entire history of the WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca, as well as for the BMW Car Club of America Sim Racing Series. So it's going to be interesting to see what they have in store for the future.
Yeah, and something that just happened before we took the green flag here is Jim Anderson has just spun out under the pace laps and is well behind the field here as they're about to take the green flag.
All right, well, hopefully he can get back out underway before things go green here as we are waiting. Green flag is out as we see Kurt Poulter get another great restart over the 88 of Amanda Tully as they come out of turn number 1 here, heading towards the Andretti hairpin. It's going to be side by side for Tully and Bowen, 2 by 2 now as they head into the Andretti hairpin. One car goes way wide, 3 wide contact. Amanda Tully will spin out, and as well as it looks like another driver, Peter Neely. Nope, he gets through. That is Jim Anderson coming back around. So a couple of drivers now. That's 3 of our drivers that were in the podium position last race now in trouble.
Yeah, and, you know, I believe that would be an avoidable contact and maybe even a penalty for the Matthew Kogan 142 machine as he drove to the outside and looked to come down the track a little bit. We'll have to see what the stewards say about that one as far as handing out a penalty possibly. But unfortunately, some contact early in the race has pushed Amanda back to, I believe, the 5th position after starting in the 2nd spot. And Bowen as well is going to be just right in front of her. So he's been pushed back as well.
Yeah, a big upset right there for Amanda Tully, who had such a great run, but it's still early on in the race, so anything could happen here. So she could possibly gain some position and catch back up and get back in 2nd place, but we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, we'll just have to see. You know, the 20-minute race here kind of gives these drivers enough time to drive back up. I mean, 20 minutes does not sound like a lot of time, but at 1 minute and around 30 to 40-second lap times, that's quite a few laps to actually get your feet wet and start to push up through the field and maybe even catch the drivers in front of you, as now Matthew Kogan is trying to run down that, I believe, 7 car, yes, of Gary Bowen.
Yes, indeed. So we'll have to keep track of the positions here. Keeping an eye to see if Matthew Kogan will be asked to come down pit road to serve a penalty, as well as Kurt Poulter is back out on the race lead, as we have now been receiving a penalty word from officials, Matthew Kogan, for a stop-and-go penalty for avoidable contact in turn number 2. So Matthew Kogan will be coming down pit road to serve a stop-and-go penalty. That will then move him back, probably almost putting him almost a lap down.
Yeah, and that's what I was talking about, is on the entrance to turn 1 there, he ran almost all the way off the track using that little paved area of runoff, and then seemed to kind of come down the track a little bit, which caused the contact between, of course, him and Amanda Tully, which caused the rest of the drivers in that front pack, minus Kurt Poulter, who had already pulled a 2 to 3 car length lead, to spin and drive into the gravel and well, slow down the field a little bit. But somebody who ran up front last race and had a bit of a shunt and ruined the right front of the car is back in the second spot in that Guinness BMW, and that's going to be Peter Neely.
Yeah, so great run for him currently on the opening laps here at WeatherTech Raceway, as he has currently got back up to second place after starting fifth place after his mishap he had in race number 1. So this could be redemption run for Mr. Neely as he comes down and tries to see if he can maintain a position and hold second place this time around, as they have completed lap number 2, working on lap 3 here.
Yeah, he's just hoping he doesn't do the same thing again. I mean, you know that's going through his head, especially after what had happened the last 20-minute race we had only a couple minutes ago. But 7 minutes into this race now, coming up on almost 8 minutes into this race here, and you have to wonder if some of these guys, you know, they run the short sprint races in real life in the BMW Car Club of America. You have to wonder if maybe some of these guys who are not used to sim racing are getting tired. I mean, you don't think of sim racing as something that is quite physically demanding, but if you have everything set up the right way, I know fortunately for myself, I have a sim rig that I have, and it gets pretty demanding, and usually you have to have some fans on. So maybe these drivers are getting a little bit hot inside these virtual cars here and starting to slow these lap times down just a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it's very difficult as we see Amanda Tully go off once again, coming out towards the Rahal Straight. She has to gather it back up and continue on, but a nice save for her as she makes a run up towards the corkscrew. She'll have a lot of work though to do in these minutes left here in the race as she's coming down slowly through the corkscrew.
Yeah, and that was just a far off right there. I'm looking back at it. It seems like she just missed the apex of the corner and went off, which is so easy to do right there. That's a really tough corner, because if you see when these cars drive through, like right now, we're riding on board with Kurt Poulter, and you see a little red hump right there in the apex of the corner. Those are a raised rumble strip that is raised probably about a foot almost higher than the normal rumble strip. You see him hit it there, and it upsets the car, gets it loose, and kind of gets these things sideways. As we have a car coming down pit road. That is Matthew Cogan serving his stop and go penalty for avoidable contact. So every car has passed him that is currently on the speedway, and he will be coming back out in the 6th position.
Well, you know what, Ricky, let's take a moment and just enjoy the sounds here at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca with these powerful BMW M4 GT4s. So let's take a moment right quick as we watch these drivers take to the track. And with that, we now turn it down a little bit as we continue to bring you live coverage here of the BMW Car Club of America. We are currently watching Kurt Poulter Poulter currently with the race lead here at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. I'm Taylor Burris with Ricky Springer joining me in the booth tonight, and our producer Ryan Bauer. As we are now closing in on under 12 minutes left to go here, and Kurt Poulter is just absolutely putting a clinic on the field. 15.3 seconds over the 808 car of Peter Neely, followed by Gary Bowen currently sitting in third position. Jim Anderson rounding out your top four.
And you took the words right out of my mouth about that 44 car of Kurt Poulter putting on an absolute clinic. I couldn't have said it any better. That's exactly what he's doing. A 15.3 second lead here in the second race. He won the first one by a little over 10 seconds, and this one probably even more unless he has an issue, fingers crossed. But on the bright side, Peter Neely in that Guinness 808 BMW has rebounded extremely well from the first race incident and seems to be gaining a little bit on his lap time. Started this race by running 1 minute 33 second lap times and has now dropped down to the 1 minute 32 second lap time. So maybe he's learning a little bit, Taylor, about this track.
He certainly is. As we look, if you look on the corner right towards the bottom, you see a little track map. That green little dot on there, that is your race leader, Kurt Poulter. And currently right now, as you see the little pink dot up towards the top of the racetrack, so we watch Gary Bowen, that's him. He is almost pretty much half a track behind our race leader, Kurt Poulter, as they'll come across each other when he is coming through out of Rainy Curve. And you see right there, you'll see them come across each other and then continue on their way. So it just shows the domination that Poulter has in this series. So this is going to be an interesting question to see. Can anybody have anything for Mr. Poulter when we kick this season off in September?
I mean, I sure hope so. I mean, of course, Kurt has absolutely blazing speed here at Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca, and he was very fast at Charlotte when we worked with these guys the other week. But, you know, one thing you have to wonder is maybe he's just getting lucky with the track selections here. You have to wonder what it's going to be when it gets to a track that maybe he has no practice on. Of course, being a member of iRacing for 4 years or so, I highly doubt that there's a lot of tracks, or at least United States tracks, that he has not turned 1 or 2 laps on. So we'll just be curious to see what will happen when he gets on that kind of equal playing field of not really knowing the track quite well. And we'll see what that does as we get into the regular season of the BMW Car Club of America.
Indeed, we'll have to see if anybody will have anything for this dominating performance of a driving that Kurt Poulter has. Want to give an update. Miss Amanda Tully has brought her number 88 BMW M4 GT4 down pit road as we try to get an update on her to see if she's going to continue on the track. Currently sitting in 5th position. We'll probably be going a lap down here momentarily and dropping down to 6th position once she gets done with her pit stops here at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. So we'll keep a track on her and her progress here when she comes back.
Yeah, and I believe that's due to some damage that she may have gotten in the suspension. I'm going back and taking a look, and she had a big off going through the corkscrew on lap 6 and pounded the pavement there. So maybe she thought she had some damage, came down pit road to fix it, but unfortunately still sitting in pit road as she will go a lap down. And probably about 2 laps down as Kurt Poulter now working his way into the corkscrew on the back half of the course.
As we watched here, that green car that you see, actually now the pink car that you see right there on the map is Mr. Poulter, as we also keep track of Peter Neely, who's currently now coming up the Rahal Straight. See if he can try anything to close the gap. Looking at the lap times between these two drivers of Peter Neely and Kurt Poulter, it's still about the same gap that we saw the last race. About a second to about a second and a half is his gap as far as lap times. Let's see what Kurt Poulter's lap time is when he comes across the line. This time by, he completes lap number 8. He ran a 1:30.331 as we wait on Peter Neely, who's just now coming up to turn 11. Let's take a look and see what his lap time is as he comes through turn 11. Has a nice run through there, gets a good corner exit off as he'll come down the front straightaway to complete lap number 8 for him. As he comes across the start-finish line, his lap time will be a 1:32.033. So 2 seconds just about separating in lap times between these two drivers. So Peter Neely has a little bit of work to try to do as we continue to watch Mr. Gary Bowen now, who's coming through turn 10 and making his way up to turn 11 here.
Yeah, and that 7 car A little bit of change of a pace here from the last race. Of course, last race was in that heated battle with Amanda Tully for the last 5 to 10 minutes of the race, battling hard back and forth, ended up finishing in the 3rd position after Peter Neely had gone off course and broke the right front suspension on that BMW, but he's in the 3rd position again, just a different set of circumstances here. Peter, of course, coming up to the back half of the course, so highly doubt there'll be any more positions he can make up here, but anything can happen as we come into the closing, I believe, just under 6 minutes, or I'm sorry, just under 7 minutes here to go in the race.
To give you an update, Amanda Tully has come back out on the racetrack. She is, though, currently 1 lap down, sitting in 6th position. Could catch up to Matthew Kogan and take 5th position, but with how much time is left on the clock, which is about 6 minutes, it's going to be a tall order for her to try and do that here. But we'll keep track of her progress as she continues on her way here. And meanwhile, we'll take a look at another driver who's made some ground up, Jim Anderson, sitting in the 4th position right now after he was started 6th last race after finishing 6th in race number 2.
Yeah, and, you know, a great run for him here. We didn't really talk about him, I don't believe, at all during the race, and actually, come to think of it, Jim Anderson is the driver who had lost control of that BMW GT4 car before the start of this race. And I said a vehicle spun out at the back half of the field before we took the green for this second 20-minute race. It was that Jim Anderson automobile, and somehow he has been able to gain the time back and get it inside the top 5.
He had a nice recovery from race 1 as well as the start of race number 2. So keeping an eye on his progress and see if he can sneak a podium finish here tonight at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. As we continue to watch the clock here, 5 minutes left to go for Kurt Poulter as he is now coming up to the braking zone of turn number 11 to complete his lap here, as he has been just absolutely dominating here, coming up to complete lap number 10. As we are closing into the final minutes at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca for race 2 of the BMW Car Club of America.
Yeah, and it has to be so relaxing for Kurt to be running this far ahead of the field now, 23 seconds. That is absolutely crazy to think in these cars here, but it just goes to show how much skill and how much time he's put into sim racing. Of course, a member of iRacing for a little over 4 years now. And it's just the reps, I guess you could say. Of course, in real life, there's not a whole lot of practicing you can do. It's not like you can go outside and drive the race car in your front yard. It's not like baseball where you get that kind of repetitions going through, like throwing a baseball or throwing a football. But it's definitely something different when it comes to, because you can hop on it anytime and anytime during the day and go anywhere in the world practically and get some reps in on driving a race car.
Exactly. I mean, we can take these BMW M4 GT4s anywhere in the world. Just name the place. As long as iRacing has scanned and released the track here on the service, we can take you there. From tracks such as here at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca to tracks such as the Nürburgring, Le Mans, Suzuka, even Bathurst, iRacing can provide you the extraordinary laser-scanned, detailed tracks for anyone's needs when it comes to sports car racing. And of course, with these powerful laser-scanned, detailed race cars that iRacing has provided for us, with over 80 different race cars you can drive.
Yeah, and you know, the amount of detail that they put into these things here. I believe it was Mike who we interviewed in the pre-race show before the race started here tonight. He said the only difference of the real-life thing here, even the palm sweat is the same. He said the only difference is the smell of gasoline. Well, I guess unfortunately for me, I've gotten that smell as the box blew out by the road before the race started here, and I'm running off of a generator with the router and everything hooked up to bring this race to you guys tonight. And for me, I guess it's about as real as it gets. What do you think, Taylor?
I told Ryan before we started the show, when we found out how you were able to hook everything back up, we called that the improvise of the year, I think. I've never heard of a broadcaster just able to hook up a generator as far as when it comes to sim racing broadcast. Now, in my time calling SCCA races, we've had to do that, hook up a generators in order for us to call races out on certain corners. But for sim racing, this is a first indeed. So, Ricky, I think you win that award of improvise for the year.
I'm fine winning at least some kind of reward here, as we're going to take a look at the leader again. We'll get off the topic about how I'm running off of a gas-powered generator, but we'll take a look at the leader here of Kurt Poulter, as he's going to put that number, I believe, 88 machine, yes, of Amanda Tolley a lap down now. So she will be the next one, or no, sorry, 2 laps down now. So she will be the first car 2 laps down in this race, as we just get under 2 minutes to go here. 1.5 left to go in this race.
Yep, a 2-minute warning indeed for Kurt Poulter as he is closing in on another lap car. That's going to be Jim Anderson, who we just talked about. He goes wide, though, as they come out of turn number 3. Gives way, though, for Kurt Poulter to make the pass and continues on his way here.
Yeah, and that was almost really bad coming off that corner for him. You get 2 tires off, and it's not necessarily as easy as just turning the wheels back onto the course. You get 2 wheels off there, and you could just keep going straight no matter how hard you tried to turn the wheels. So fortunately for him, he was able to woe the car up enough to be able to catch some grip in that dirt and gravel off the side of the course here and drive back on, and didn't have an issue. And he's able to keep that 4th position, but now going to be just another car that Kurt Poulter has thrown a lap down here in this BMW Car Club of America.
Coming up on 40 seconds to go, he will have to probably do 1 more lap here before he'll get the white flag, as we keep track of Peter Neely, who's currently sitting 2nd, some 27 seconds back from Kurt Poulter now, as Poulter is now entering turn 11 here, as we're waiting to see if he will receive the white flag. I don't think he will. Nope, he's going to have to probably do 1 more lap here.
Yeah, which is actually very surprising to me, that he didn't receive the white flag this lap. With only 8 seconds remaining, as now he dives off into turn 1. We're going to go well over the time limit here. So very surprised that the flag was not thrown for him, but he's about to put another driver a lap down. This is a person we spoke to in the pre-race as well. Matthew Kogan is going to go a lap down as he gets passed on the right side by Kurt Poulter, and he continues to lengthen that lead now to 28.1 seconds over the 2nd place car, the 808 of Peter Neely. And then, of course, in the 3rd position, it's going to be Gary Bowen, who is now running up the hill into the back straightaway corkscrew.
All right, the white flag is out. So this is the white flag lap for Mr. Kurt Poulter now. And if I would like to see, can we get maybe a little bit on the track map of where Mr. Neely is on the circuit, as we keep track to see of our race leader as he is closing in. There's Peter. He is coming up, looks like to be turn number 4, as our race leader Kurt Poulter is coming out of the corkscrew for the final time here at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca through turn 10, and now coming here through turn 11 for the final time, as he will sweep the day here at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. Kurt Poulter in the number 44 BMW M4 GT4 will sweep race number 1 and race number 2 in a dominating performance here at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca for the BMW Car Club of America Sim Racing Series.
An absolutely amazing run by him in both races as he sweeps it. This is definitely a vision of what's to come, as we're going to see exactly what the gap was here at the end of the race, as Peter Neely in the 808 Guinness BMW GT4 is just now coming out of turn 11, working his way down the front straightaway. A little flash of the headlights down the front stretch as he will take the checkered flag. And he actually closed the gap the last lap there to 27.8 seconds. So a little bit of closure on the gap at the end. And we're going to take a look at Gary Bowen, who is just now coming up the hill to go through the corkscrew for the final time, Taylor.
Yep, Gary Bowen now will come home and round out your podium positions here at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca for race number 2 of the BMW Car Club of America Sim Racing Series. And with that, we'll give our drivers a chance to complete their cool-down lap, come down pit road, cool off, freshen up a little bit, and then have them come in up into the booth and talk to us right quick and learn to see how their race went for them, as Ricky, we look forward to new endeavors with the BMW Car Club of America with their season getting ready to kick off in September. A lot of excitement happening and looking forward to calling this season with you.
Absolutely. This is going to be such a great series to keep an eye on, and I look forward to enjoying the great racing that we're going to see at all the great American racetracks and the historic courses as we're going to take a look at the race results here, Taylor.
Yes, indeed. Kurt Poulter in the number 44 will take home the checkered flag here, sweeping the week, as Peter Neely will come home in second after a redemption for him after finishing 5th last round. Coming home in 3rd position will be Gary Bond.
And in the 4th position, the 888 is going to be Jim Anderson, and he's going to finish 1 lap off of the lead lap car. In the 5th position, it's going to be Amanda Tully, who will be 2 laps behind. And in the 6th position, the last car to start the race will be Matthew Kogan from California. He will be 2 laps behind. The 2 drivers who did not start the race are the 40 car of Darby Moses, and in the 8th position, it's going to be the 486 of Michael Tan.
And with that, we now will wait for our drivers to come up. Actually, Kurt Poulter has already ran his way up into the booth. Kurt, you swept the weekday here today at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. How do you feel?
Feel great. A lot of fun.
All right, with that, how much preparation are you going to be ready for when it comes to the new season and new series that will kick off later this year in September?
I'm really sorry. I got somebody else talking to my ear. I couldn't hear your question.
No problem. The question was, how excited and how much preparation are you going to be putting in to try to put on another great performance for when the season kicks off in September?
I'm excited for it. I'll be practicing as much as I can. Once we get the track schedule and everything set up, I'm sure we'll all be putting in quite a few laps to try to put on a good show and have a lot of fun.
All right. Well, before we let you go, you already probably did this already in race 1 after winning. Go ahead and thank who you like to thank for helping you race from week to week.
Yeah, Vandalia Range and Armory, Turn-In Concepts, Rodenso Radar Detectors, and my family for letting me do this fun little hobby.
All right. That is Kurt Poulter taking home the checker flag for race number 2 here at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. And with that, Ricky has caught up with our 2nd place driver, Peter Neely.
And Peter Neely going to come home in the 2nd position here in the BMW Car Club of America race here for the 2nd one. The 2nd of the 220 races here at Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca. And in the first race, you had an issue. I'd like to talk to you about that since we didn't get to speak to you after the first race. What exactly happened in the closing minutes of the first race to kind of take you out? I believe we're having some technical issues with the interview of Peter Neely there, and we might have to catch back up with him a little bit later. Taylor, I'll hand it over to you, and you can get the interview with Gray here.
All right, we're here with Gary Bond now. And Gary, you came home in 3rd for both races here at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. Tell us a little bit about how your race went for both of you in both races and what you look forward to as we continue to press forward with the BMW CCA.
Oh, I look forward to having a successful league and drawing a bunch of the membership in and getting them excited about what we're doing and, augmenting what they're doing on the track with something like this, something to be excited on the track and then at home at the same time. So I thought both races seemed to go fairly well. A little bit of a rough start on the 2nd race, but seemed to get through and seemed to bring it home.
All right. Well, Gary, before we let you go, who would you like to thank that helps you race from week to week? And anyone you would like to give a shout out to before we let you go?
I want to give a shout out to Matt Hogan and everybody on the team for making it a successful league.
All right. That is Gary Bond, who comes home P3 here for race number 2 at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. I want to get a quick check to see if Peter is ready, and we're going to turn it over to Ricky.
And we're going to see if Peter Neely is ready here again as we get him up. And Peter, this is Ricky Springer in the Podium Esports booth. Do you have a copy with us?
I do. Thanks, Ricky. Sorry about that. Technical glitch.
All good, man. And, I'm not sure if you heard me, but I kind of went through. We didn't get to speak to you after the first race there. What happened in the closing minutes that took you out of that first race?
I wish I had a great excuse, but I looked down to try and figure out what my brake bias was. And that was enough to be distracted. And I thought I had enough of a straight that I could just keep going straight and look at my black box, and clearly I couldn't.
It looks like just a little bit of damage on that right front suspension component.
That's right.
That took you out there. But what was that first lap incident? We saw a couple of cars get together in the second race, the first lap incident there. What was that like for you to try and cut through there and ultimately got you into the second position?
Yeah, at one point I was just thinking to stop because the chaos, there was a car on the right coming around, rapidly losing the back end, one car in front of me who was trying to brake to avoid, and then the car up ahead of that, I think lost control too. So I was just trying to avoid it. Luckily, the right-hand side opened up. I saw the opening and took it and didn't get hit. But yeah, that was a little bit of chaos.
Yeah, definitely looked like it. And what was the difference between you and Kurt Poulter tonight, trying to keep up with him there? We saw just the raw speed that he had. Of course, one of the veterans of sim racing in the BMW Car Club of America series here on iRacing. What's the difference between you two, and how is he just able to put the car wherever he wants to and really drive away with it?
I think first and foremost, just skill. He's a fantastic driver, and you can see that in his qualifications, his practice, as well as both races tonight. The only thing with me is this is the second race I've done in the BMW M4 GT4. No excuses, but haven't had the seat time I've needed. But even if I did, Kirk was pulling away. He was clearly just faster all around.
It's still a great race for only your second or third time being in the car. And, with a great finish here in the second race, unfortunately, the circumstances of the first race didn't quite treat you well. But is there anybody you'd like to thank tonight for kind of getting you in those positions to really finish well here?
Well, I'd like to thank iRacing for putting this on and working with the car clubs that they are. And I'm with BMW CCA Trillium up in Canada, and it's a fantastic group of people. Unfortunately, one of our simmers couldn't come out today, but we had Jim Anderson on the racetrack and myself, and just lots of fun.
That's what it's all about, is having fun. That was our second place finisher, somebody on the second step podium. It was Peter Neely who will bring it home in the second spot. And Taylor, I'll hand it back over to you to kind of wrap up this race in a nutshell for us.
Yep, but before we do that, we actually have a couple of people who coming up in here. Mr. Sean McKenzie will join us back up in the booth. Sean, you had the chance to watch two great races here for the BMW Car Club of America at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. So what were your thoughts about this event?
Wow, what a great start to what's going to be a fantastic experience, man. I mean, it is amazing, all right? What a great experience. So I want to thank just a couple people for helping us out here. First of all, our friends down at BMW CCA headquarters in Greer, South Carolina, for opening up the channel for us and allowing us to broadcast. Thank you very much. My friends at Podium Esports, what a job. Great work, people. Real pros. I'm telling you, I appreciate it. And lastly, the team that put this thing together. We've got a bunch of BMW club members that really worked extraordinarily hard to put this thing together. I am blown away by what you guys have created here. So I just thank you so much. We got a real winner here.
I could not agree with you more, Sean, as we are now joined once again by Mr. Matthew Kogan. Matthew, you were out there on the track. You had a little bit of trouble in that second race, but you came home and finished it out. Tell us your thoughts here. As we are waiting to see if Matthew is good to go.
There we go. Sorry, I forgot I'm on push to talk. Down there in the what's essentially the first turn of the track, got a little greedy. I think I tried to use a little bit too much of that outside of the track, that apron, which is actually a good racing surface. Got a little bit outside and into some marbles. I do think I might have got a little touch and got turned around there as well. But then after that, things kind of went downhill for myself. went from bad to worse. So, but overall, it was a good race. Personally, I got to figure out how to turn off all the pit stop settings, because when I came in to serve my penalty, the crew decided to give me some fuel at the same time and add a little bit extra time to that stop, which is definitely not needed in a 20-minute race. But overall, I think it was a really good race.
Well, it was a very good race to call, and looking forward to seeing what the future holds. So before we close everything out, Matthew, what are your final thoughts as we get ready to approach the new season in September?
So I think our format looks really good, and I was popping in. I put the broadcast up on the TV in the other room and got a chance to watch a little bit of that after the race to see how the interviews and everything were going. So that all looked great. And we are looking forward to bringing in a whole bunch more racers. And in September, we have a full field. Hopefully we can field 60 cars or so. That would be nice. But, beyond 30 would be really good as well.
All right. And we look forward to that event in September. So thank you once again, Mr. Kogan, for allowing us to come out here and call this great race. And we look forward to seeing what happens as he gives us a big hello.
All right. All right. Thank you, guys. Yeah, it was a great job.
And with that, it is time for us to come to a close. Before we though, Ricky, do you have any final thoughts about the BMW Car Club of America Sim Racing Series and what you're looking forward to as we get ready to kick off the new series?
Yeah, not really a whole lot to say that I already haven't spoke my mind about during the race broadcast here tonight, other than just my pure excitement to see what this series has to offer as we go to all these historical tracks here that have been scanned by the people at iRacing. And in these BMW GT4 cars, you can't ever go wrong. So I'm very excited to see what this season is going to bring for us, and I'm very excited to be working with you, Taylor, on this stuff with the BMW Car Club of America and Ryan Bauer in the producer's booth tonight.
Of course. And with that, it is time to come to a close. But don't worry, more Podium Esports events will be happening later this week. Of course, tomorrow at Wednesday, July 29th at 9 p.m., the Cars Tour will be at Charlotte Motor Speedway, the Legends Oval on twitch.tv/Podium Esports. And then Sunday, August 2nd at 8 p.m., the GameWorks Racing League heads for round number 3 at Atlanta Motor Speedway. You can catch the same action live at 8 p.m. on twitch.tv/Podium Esports. For that, for James Pike, Gary Sexton, Cisco Scarmuza, and John Theodore at Podium Esport, for my partner in the booth, Mr. Ricky Springer, and for our producer, the bearded sim racer, Ryan Bauer, I'm Taylor Burris of Podium Esports. Thank you so much for watching tonight's broadcast of the BMW Car Club of America Sim Racing Series at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. Thank you, and good night.